Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back, guys. I'm back with Claudine, and we are back with more couture at the Louvre. And today we're talking about the medieval section. So I'll let Claudine take it from here.
Yeah, so last week we talked about kind of the reason why they're making the exhibit, and then the first two pieces that you will see. Again, we're still in the medieval and Byzantine collection. So they've broken it out into four sections of the objet d'art, and this is specifically the medieval period and the Middle Ages. Lots of gold. And the exhibit continues on here, and it's really, it's so fantastic. So when you walk in, you'll see two mannequins in the very center. And these are really, really amazing. The first one you see on the left was done by a Lebanese designer named Rabbi Karouz. At 16, he moved to Paris to study fashion. He has a different approach when he creates a collection. Some artists will sketch and draw it out, but he likes to just pick up the fabric and let the fabric kind of tell him what it wants, and to drape it. Much like Michelangelo did, he felt he had a big block of stone and the stone would tell him what it should be turned into. So Rabbi does that a little bit. In 2008, he created his label, and in 2019, he was awarded his couture distinction with this collection specifically. This ensemble of what kind of is the top, almost kind of looks like a sweater, and a skirt, was the last piece he created for the autumn-winter collection of 2019. This sweater is actually created with pieces of lace trim that were attached, and took 4 weeks to create by Cécile in his atelier. He says he names each one of his pieces, but it's like he names them after the wonderful, amazing artist that works in his atelier that creates them. So he also brought her to the opening night event, which I was at, and now I kind of wish I had seen this wonderful, sweet little woman get to see the piece that she created inside the Louvre. It's paired with a copper sculpture that's the Virgin and the Six Apostles, created in the year 1230 in Limoges. And it has really, you just see the Virgin and Paul, and the rest of them is just like a little clump of the apostles. And it is very reminiscent of the same kind of draping that Kairos has in his design. On that same platform is a dress that was done by Karl Lagerfeld. It was Karl Lagerfeld for a company that I shall not say the name of. It begins with a C, because we know how I feel about that name. But it is a piece that he did in the 2013 or 2010 collection that he calls Paris Byzance. It was for the Métier des Arts collection, which is a special collection that was done each year. Not very many of the ateliers take part in it, but it was to reflect the high standard of artistic skills used to create things with stones, feathers, embroidery, accessories. He wanted to create this voyage between Paris and Byzantium, which was later known as Constantinople, and incorporates ideas of the cabochon and adornments of the sign of wealth and the power of the Byzantine area. Right behind these two pieces in a case is a sword. And this isn't just any sword. This is probably one of the most important pieces of the Objet d'Art collection. And again, most people just kind of walk right past it. This is the sword of Charlemagne and is also known as Joyeux. It is named after Charlemagne, but would have been created pretty much just right after the time of his death in the ninth century. The first time this was used was for the coronation of Philip II. Philip II Augustus, so Philip Augustus, how most people know him. He is the one that built the first wall around Paris. He built the medieval Louvre, and then it was used for every coronation of the king, ending with Charles X, with the only exception of Henry IV. It is a beautiful sword, and the top of it, the hilt, which is like the handle. There's elements of this sword that goes back to the ninth century, but also all the way up to the 15th century. The sheath that it goes in is what you should really look closely at. This was done in the late 12th century. It's been restored several times and recovered a few times. It has purple velvet with embroidered gold fleur-de-lis on it, but Napoleon changed it to green velvet at one point and had it at his coronation. It's BNA, who was the jeweler of the coronation of Napoleon. When he changed it, he also added a tip onto the end of it. But precious stones are on the top of the sheath, and there's a buckle there as well. The buckle is one of the earliest pieces of it that has changed and had been re-added to the sheath in the 12th century. But if you look at it closely, you do see there's 9 stones on it. Those stones have been changed out. But you will find this sword in paintings of Louis XIV, Louis XV, Louis XVI, Napoleon III. You will see this many, many times. So it's a pretty important piece. It used to be in the Treasury of Saint Denis. After the Revolution, those pieces all came into the Louvre for safekeeping. But it's really a really cool piece. And look at the sheath and then look back again at the Lagerfeld for Chanel dress and look at the belt. And you definitely see that same kind of all of those same features, which is pretty amazing. And we know that Carl spent a lot of time in the Louvre. He loved the Louvre, and he definitely would have seen some of these things that he turned into fashion.
Yeah, I just love how they're like intertwining everything, like it's all connected, but also in a fun, different way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The next, just past that, there is a dress here that is probably the newest piece in the collection. It's from the Autumn Winter 2024-25 collection. It is a dress that I really just want to go up and crumple it in my hands. And if when you see what this dress looks like, you'll know. It's a white crumpled silk taffeta. It's by a designer, it's a very young designer, Charles de Villemorin. He evokes the medieval ivory work. So there's pieces of ivory all around the dress, and just look at some of those, especially the descent of the cross. But he is 28 years old at the moment. He is mostly unknown, but you will have seen him if you watch the Olympics, because the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, he did some of the fashion for that, the scene where it had the 3 people in like the Bibliothèque Nationale, and they were wearing these outfits that had crazy like colors and everything. He also did the 2023 Christmas window and tree of the Galeries Lafayette. So at that point, he was like, 26 years old. It's, like I said, one of the newest pieces of the exhibit. It was only his second haute couture collection, and of course, inspired by ivory statuary. The Descent of the Cross is a 13th century piece that's made up of 5 different tiny small statues. And just look at it closely, because in the ivory it's carved and you see this kind of draping. The dress itself is just like this white taffeta, but it almost looks like crumpled paper. And it is the back of it has these huge eyelets, So it could be laced up. When I was doing the research on all this, some of them, especially more contemporary ones, you're able to even watch the fashion show online. So you could find it like on YouTube. And so I got to see the way it walked. But on the back of it, if you looking at the dress and you look to the left behind it, there's this funny little pouch. And I noticed that one day. And then when I was doing research and it said that he said, the designer himself, that Chappell Roan, the singer, wore it at a live event where she performed at, and they sewed that on there, created it to hold her mic box, and he liked that, so he left it. And I tried to find some images of her in the dress, and I couldn't find any, unfortunately. So maybe it was a private live event. But it's a lot of these pieces like that you'll see. It is one of a kind. It is the only one. It is the one they made for the runway, and it is now in the Louvre. There's even a few of them. I think I've counted about 4 or 5 items that have been replaced since it opened. So they have something by that same designer, but they've flipped it out since, and that's probably just because some of these things are so fragile. But this dress, it just literally begs you to want to touch it, but I have not, and they frown upon
Yeah, I
that.
guess we really shouldn't touch the art.
We really shouldn't touch it, but I really want to. It's really amazing. It's got these crazy sleeves and a lot of these things when I went the night of the pre-opening, I took a bunch of pictures and videos and I put together a reel and I had it on Instagram and Facebook and they ended up getting like tens of thousands of views. And some people were like, how would you even wear that? And how do you wash it? And how would you sit? If you are lucky enough to have the opportunity to wear one of these pieces, first of all, you're a superstar, probably on a red carpet, but you don't have to worry about washing it or sitting in it. The Met Gala and stuff, people are wearing these crazy designs and they wear it for the red carpet, and most of the time they go inside and change out of it and they change into something else that maybe that designer made, but something they could actually sit in and dance in. So these pieces, couture is all about fantasy. It's about just giving people ideas. It's also, they make these runway shows. They spend 2 months building these massive structures to house a runway show that's going to be 15 minutes. So the amount of money that goes into this by these fashion houses is just insane. But if they have it enough, and there's some designers more than others that really get that buzz and attention, like Schiaparelli, they will get all of that buzz and all of that talk through the media, through social media. And maybe somebody can't go and buy this dress from Dior that's 8,000 euros, but they can go in there and maybe they're going to buy a scarf. And so it's all about marketing for them. So creation of haute couture items isn't supposed to be like people could imagine wearing that to go to Target.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like everyday life.
It's not everyday life. And I always refer to, and I mentioned, I think in the YouTube video, that Devil Wears Prada, which is, a movie many people love. But there's a scene in there where Andy goes into Meryl Streep's office and they're figure out which blue belt to use. And the lady, the gal, the actress holding it goes, "Oh, I don't know. It's so hard to pick." And Andy goes, like, scoffs and is like, they look the same, which when you look at the clasp is totally different. But she's like, "It's just a blue belt." And Meryl Streep is like, "Yes, but then she gives us things like, this was something, your blue sweater you're wearing, while you might have just bought that at like, H&M or something. That blue sweater was started by maybe Valentino, and he did a collection that included this cerulean blue, and then it goes down and just gets distilled down to now there's a whole collection at H&M at the mall of these blue things that were once inspired by Valentino's runway show." So that is what happens with haute couture. That's how you should kind of look at it, and just look at it as like fun and fantasy, because it's pretty amazing. But Devil Wears Prada is always a good idea to watch.
Yeah, I'll give you more ideas about why it's important and why it matters.
Yeah. Um, so the other pieces in here is when you go past here, this is where they also have the scepter of Charlemagne. They have a couple other things which we will talk about when later in the year we need to do the part two of the coronation of Napoleon, because there's quite a few items that in the Louvre that are attached to that you would find in this section of it. The exhibit continues into another room, and this room is surrounded by huge, large tapestries on the wall. And there's four mannequins in the center of the room. And these are amazing. Tapestries are something that I think a lot of people just miss. They don't pay attention to. I've had people say to me like, "Oh, they don't really like them. They think they're boring." And then I kind of explain them to what they were and what they're used, and the story behind them, and then it becomes more interesting. But I think with this exhibit, if you don't walk away from seeing this exhibit and appreciating tapestries, then you didn't pay attention. But this room, there's four models in the center, and the first one you're going to see when you walk in is one that I love. And I've decided that my very favorite pieces of this entire exhibit are the Dior, but it's the specific Dior of the Galliano years. And his stuff is always crazy, kind of over the top, but absolutely amazing. There's a dress that you can't miss it. It's green. It's like a souffle of green silk. And it is the Autumn Winter 2006 dress that was inspired by a 1942 black and white film called The Devil's Envoy by Marcel Carnet. It's set in 1485 in a medieval castle that was filled with courtiers spending hours at dances and period costumes in the trumpet style. The headpiece features two trumpets and has like silk taffeta of blue and yellow hanging down. And so most people I've been standing in that room when people come in and they just kind of laugh. But again, just remember, this is fantasy. That's what it's not supposed to look like. That's something you're going to wear. This entire collection was inspired by a little bit of Joan of Arc, of Botticelli, and also the French actress Arletty, who was also in the movie. He also mixed kind of a bit of goth punk and medieval edge to it. Another dress from the collection that closes out the show is also from that same period, and one of my favorites we'll tell you about later. There's three other pieces in this room. You go to the left, and there is a coat by the Belgian designer Dries van Noten. He descends from a long line of tailors, and so he was a one-time stylist that blends a bit of European history with punk and a dash of Japanese influence into each of his collections. This jacket was the spring-summer 2017 pret-a-porter. Looks included with tapestries and textiles at the time, and is reproduced on printed cotton. It is really fun. Get close enough to look at it. The Belgium is highly regarded for tapestries of the 16th century, a fact that was not missed by Van Noten. While these four pieces surrounded by tapestries, the one that's in the collection that is closer to what inspired him is a few rooms away. It's called the Verdure. It's a large, huge tapestry that is all of leaves and greenery, and it's really, really beautiful. And it, of course, has a different story behind it because it is a piece that was looted during World War II by Hermann Göring. He took this piece, and it is said that he purchased it, quote unquote, in 1941, but there's no reference to that. He had it shipped with all of his other looted items to his home outside of Berlin, where it was discovered after the war by Rose Valland. It's currently in the Louvre collection, awaiting the day that his proper descendant can retrieve it. And so hopefully maybe somebody listening will find out that that belonged to their family, and then my life would be complete. On the other side of this is another Dior dress, but this is by Maria Grazia, who is just stepped down as in charge of the women's section. This is Autumn Winter 2018, 2019. And it embraces that very classic silhouette of Dior. It was created in the 1940s. like you see kind of in that first one. It's strapless. It's just beautiful. It has this feminine softness to it with this edge. The entire collection was one Dior himself would have probably loved. Grazia has always found great inspiration in art of the Louvre in the entire collection. She's inspired pieces by paintings and sculptures, specifically from the Louvre. For this 2018 dress, she had a copy of a tapestry hanging in her Dior office, a copy of a tapestry that's in the Louvre, just 2 rooms away. It's a 16th century Flemish piece called The Concert, which features 4 figures surrounded by flowers, plants, and birds. The Dior Atelier recreated this pattern onto fabric. It was a chain print on silk. Then they hand embroidered the animals and a few of the flowers. When you look at it closely, within the flowers, also notice there's a something that was very close to the heart of Dior. He loved Lily of the Valley, and the Lily of the Valley, he had his own florist that would grow those for him all year round. So he had a sprig of lily in the valley in his coat lapel every single day. And he also, in those first few collections, he would sew one into the hem of the dress. So she added that in. So the other flowers and details are copied from this tapestry, but then she added the lily of the valley in there, which I absolutely love. You could see that in room 509, which is just three rooms away from here. So definitely don't miss that. The tapestries, the Louvre has over 400 in its collection. Only about 120 of those are on display. The most well-known tapestry is kept over at the Cluny Museum, which is the lady with the unicorn. Most people know and have heard of that. It's a set of 15th and 16th century tapestries depicting an allegory of each of the 5 senses. The last piece in this room that we'll talk about today is a coat. And if you first see this coat, for me, the colors of it, it's very earth tones, which is totally not my jam. But look closely at this coat. It's by a very young designer named Marine Serre. It's from her Pret-a-Porter collection of autumn winter in 2023-24. This young designer entered with Alexander McQueen himself before he died, and later Dior and Balenciaga. Her first collection was unveiled in 2017 at 26 years old, and she received the LVMH Young Creators Award. Her collection often is a mix of repurposed items, and it kind of looks like something like some cool skateboard kids would wear. There's t-shirts. I was looking on her website. There's pieces made from t-shirts, and then they sell for like 1,200 euros. I was like, okay, you've got to be kidding me, because they're come from like logo t-shirts that somebody else made and they cut them up. It's very cool looking, but I was like 1,200 euros. That is just crazy. But this piece here, it's a one of a kind. For this one, each one of these coats, they would all be one of a kind because it's made with tapestries and rugs from flea markets that she bought in the south of France. This one, the arms are made of copies of The Lady and the Unicorn, the tapestry for sight. But it also has like pieces of tapestries that have dogs and flowers and animals. There's a woman on the side that looks like it could be Manet's reinterpretation of a David painting of Madame Recamier. It is absolutely so cool. And just look at it from all the sides. On the very back, on the top of her back, it has like a Pegasus, and it's all done in these like browns. It looks like something like from the 70s. It's like very colors of the 70s fashion. And the underneath it has a jumpsuit. You just see it for the little mock neck, and then at the bottom of her legs that is covered with crescent moons, which she adapted as her icon, which is also the same icon of Henry II and Diane de Poitiers, which you see all over the Louvre. But it's really, really cool. So all of these pieces here, stop and look at every detail on it, because that really is what's also makes couture amazing. It's just the construction. Some of it's almost, architectural in theory. And it's just, this one is really, when I first saw it, I was like, ugh. And then I looked closely and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. I totally would wear it then.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, just take a minute and really look at all the craftsmanship and like what really goes into these pieces.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. But the next rooms are all about the Renaissance. And so we'll get into those next week.
Well, guys, don't forget to head over to ClaudineHemingway.com to learn more. Check out her YouTube channel, hire her to give you a tour or schedule your travel, and tune in next week. Thanks for listening today, guys. If you're interested in learning more about Claudine, her tours, history, and the beautiful photographs that she posts all over Instagram, tune into her website, ClaudineHemingway.com.